past the period where I can look purity.
Remember to mute yourself when you're
Remember
not,
the what?
mute
Mute me.
when you're not talking. It's because I can hear all your rattling.
Okay, good. And we're on. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Art of Making Your Day Great webinar with Jonathan Robinson. And well, if you have any questions for today's webinar, please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screens, and we'll answer your questions. We'll answer your questions later. I am Louis Santos. I'm iAwake's Business Development Director and your webinar moderator. Now, while we're getting settled, we have a chat box too at the bottom of our screen. So please share with us in the chat box where you're located. Hello, everybody. Okay. Hi, all. So in today's webinar, we'll explore the following: why having an empowering morning ritual is so important, what Jonathan learned about morning rituals from his interviews with thought leaders like Oprah, Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, and Wayne Dyer, the four elements of an effective morning ritual, and a powerful morning ritual that combines these elements or four elements in 10 minutes. So we have people from the UK, from Durango, Colorado, Canada, Springfield, Virginia, Texas, from Germany, from Florida, from the Netherlands. Hello, everybody. So we have hundreds of people right now watching. And by the end of this webinar, we'll talk to you about our latest program from Jonathan Robinson and iAwake Technologies called Morning Ritual, Waken Your Best. So today we have John Dupuy, CEO and co-founder of iAwake Technologies. Hey, John.
Hey, everyone. Greetings.
And John holds a master's degree in transpersonal psychology. He has been working personally and professionally with brainwave entrainment technology since 2004 and has since developed a passion for the power and efficacy of brainwave entrainment technology to support the healing of mental health and addiction recovery issues, deepening our spiritual growth, and support an increase in attention and focus in business, academics, and athletics. John is also the author of Integral Recovery, a revolutionary approach to the treatment of alcoholism and addiction. And we have here today the host of our webinar, Jonathan Robinson. Hey, Jonathan.
Good to see you.
Jonathan Robinson is a psychotherapist, peak performance coach, best-selling author of 14 books, and a professional speaker. Jonathan has made numerous appearances on the Oprah Winfrey Show, as well as many other national TV talk shows, and has been featured in articles about him and USA Today, Newsweek, and the LA Times. He's also the co-host of the popular podcast Awareness Explorers that's available in iTunes and Google Play. And finally, Jonathan is the creator of iAwake Technologies, Shortcuts to Awakening and the Near-Death Experience, Waking Up to Life. And today, Jonathan will talk to us about the art of making your day great. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you, Louis. I'm really excited about this program and what I have to say today, because when you start your day great, you tend to create a great day. And I don't know about you, but I am not a morning person. So after interviewing a lot of famous people and realizing that they all started their days pretty much exactly the same way, I became very interested in creating a morning ritual that would help me get up on the right side of the bed rather than the wrong side of the bed. So that's how this program started. And basically it was a selfish thing. Like, how can I don't know about you, but when I wake up, I'm kind of brain dead, I'm foggy, I sleep deep. And I really needed something more than just a cup of coffee to get me going. And I've been blessed to interview really over 100 thought leaders. My podcast, Awareness Explorers, I just interviewed Deepak Chopra. I've interviewed the Dalai Lama, Tony Robbins, Oprah. And it's amazing that pretty much all these successful people independently came up with almost the exact same way to start their day. I think success leaves clues, and I want to have what they're having. How do they influence so many people and have a great life? So as I started to ask them about what they do, I got together this program. I recorded on a little, this was many years ago, I recorded on a cassette tape so I could listen to it. And now we have iPhones, of course, and such. But when I wake up, if possible, I listen to this thing that guides me through a very distinct process, and it makes me start my day in a really positive way and gets me focused and motivated on my goals. And that's why I really created this program. John, I can't hear you. I know your lips are moving.
There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, I wanted to say a little bit about the content. This is like our third project with iAwake that we've done together. And I think we met at a conference some years ago, and somebody said, look, he talks about iAwake in his book. And so, really? And it's been wonderful getting to know you. And we were talking before we started recording about Jonathan, you kind of carry the archetype of Mercury, the messenger of the gods. You're always on the cutting edge and exploring what's going on right now and right beyond right now into where we're moving as a human species in our consciousness, in our struggle to wake up and to be what we were capable of being and to create a beautiful world. And you're very encouraging and very powerful, and you've done the work on yourself. And I love this idea of the morning practice. I've been harping about practice over and over again until people are sick of me as the only way to really get substantial, long-lasting, embedded transformation. You gotta work at it. And we've been working on this project for over a year. I mean, or just about a year. It's probably taken us the longest than any project we've ever done at iAwake, and that's saying a lot because we've done a lot. But I think we've created a masterpiece. And what really is exciting is when we sent it out to our extensive beta testing community, our testers, and we have quite a few people. And this is not their first rodeo. They've done, they've done a lot of testing for us, and their comments and the paperwork and everything we make them fill out in order to be part of our testing process before we release it were absolutely superb. Very, very grateful, very excited, very into this thing. So it's easy, it's fast, and it's based on, as you were saying, years of your own experience, plus the kick that we put in it from iAwake, our part of it, of doing the brainwave enhancement and amplification sound technology that goes along with it to make it even more effective and more powerful.
Yeah, and it really helps, especially to wake up the brain up, from sleep. Going that transition from sleep to being productive and happy and joyous is not an obvious thing. But I want to talk more about just how to create a morning ritual in general and the elements of it, so that people get value whether they buy the product or not. And you said something that I think is really important, John, and that is information is not transformation. A lot of people know what to do, but few people do what they know. And really, it's our job to do some kind of practice. But, our lives are busy and distracted, and there's a few things going on in the world. I don't know if you noticed that. It was a difficult year for pretty much everybody. And, we have all these great technologies like Zoom, where we can talk to people from all over the world, but really what we need is an inner technology that allows us to be our best as easily as possible. In America, the average person watches 4.5 hours of TV a day. Now, I watch very little, which means that some guy in Iowa has to watch 9 hours a day just for me, to make up the difference. But the reason people watch so much TV is how easy it is. You just move your thumb a 1/4 inch and you have endless entertainment. Well, we have to make personal transformation that easy, that you just press play, you're guided in a way through some of the best positive emotional technology, the best goal achieving technology, the best motivation technologies that the greatest minds on the planet have ever come upon. Put them all in 10 minutes with the best iAwake sounds, and you have a product that can really make a huge difference in people's lives because it only takes 10 minutes. It gets people into a peak state. It gets people focused on goals. And that's really what the steps of a really good morning ritual are. Whether I was talking to Oprah or the Dalai Lama, they said that they focus on first feeling really, really good. Or actually the first step was really waking their body up. And how do you do that? Well, some people say, take a cold shower. But I am an indulgent slob. I'm not going to take a cold shower, a freezing cold shower. Uh, so that wasn't going to happen. But I did come up with a method from the Kundalini yoga tradition of a breathing method that in 60 seconds completely wakes the body up. So you want to find some exercise or some breathing method, or if you can take a cold shower, more power to you, that wakes the body up. That's the first thing you got to do. And then the second thing is really getting into a peak emotional state. And most people really don't know how to do this very well. Their idea of getting into a peak emotional state is to go to a concert, but you can't go to a concert every morning. So, but there are simple ways of doing this. One thing that you can do, just, for listeners, is I made a list of every peak emotional experience in my life written on a 3x5 card and laminate it. Things like, you might wonder how old I am, but I actually got to see the Beatles in concert. Remembering that experience, that's on there. Or times that, I was on the Oprah show, or it might be with a lover feeling really fantastic, or seeing Yosemite for the first time. I made a list of those and I remember them and I relive them. And it's a great way to start the day. Or thinking of things that you're grateful for. There's so much to be grateful for, although we've had a extremely difficult 18 months. The fact that we can connect on Zoom and talk about the greatest inner technologies, I mean, that's a pretty amazing thing. There's people from 40 different countries here. The fact that we get to share this information for free, is pure freaking magic. So finding little things to be grateful for. I'm grateful for the fact that I got to go into my refrigerator, it's hot where I am, and drink some apple juice. that's a lot of squeezed apples in one little thing, and just feeling grateful for that. So I have a list of like 50 or 60 things I'm grateful for. I focus on those. And then, focusing on goals. And there's a right way and a wrong way to focus on goals. And in the program, we delineate what the super achievers are doing. I was talking to John before the webinar that I just interviewed Deepak Chopra for my podcast, Awareness Explorers. And, Deepak has written over 90 books. I mean, try to take that in. Plus he's on the board of 23 different charities. He has a health clinic, no, 2 health clinics. You listen, you watch people like that and you think, how do they do it? Well, he has a morning ritual where he focuses on his goals in a very precise way. And then there's the ability to stay motivated. Tony Robbins says a lot of people know what to do, but few people do what they know. And you can have just one real missing link that you don't know how to stay motivated long-term, and you don't achieve those long-term goals, So luckily there are methods for staying motivated long-term, which we teach in the program. And it's really important that in this very stressful world that we live in, that we have the best ways to be our best self. And that's what I'm committed to stealing from anybody I can, any peak achiever I've ever talked to. I'm always good on, what are you doing and how can I do it? So John, what questions do you have? I know we worked on this program for a while. I appreciate how iAwake will not put out something until it's 100%. This took a long time because it had to go through different itinerations, and you really have a quality control and impeccability that I appreciate.
Well, thank you. Yeah. And in some of our earlier conversations, when we were talking about the project and when we've been, going through this whole thing, you talked about 4 essential elements that needed to be part of a morning ritual. And you've talked about a little bit, but maybe you can just like illuminate what you mean by that.
Yeah, I see and this is gathered from all the people that I interviewed, on the podcast and my books, the peak achievers. And a peak achiever doesn't mean that, you're running a company. Some of those people, like the Dalai Lama, are not like a peak achiever. They have a goal, usually a spiritual goal, and they're still doing the exact same thing that the other people are doing. The Ted Turner and the Dalai Lama had the exact same morning ritual. I found that hysterical. That leaves clues, that level of doing what is most important to that person. So the first step is usually you got to wake up your body from deep sleep. And there's a lot of ways of doing that. Coffee is fine. Cold showers are fine. I like to do it as naturally as possible. So I do it through a certain breathing method that I teach in the morning ritual. And you can go from sleepy to very, very awake and kind of high in about 90 seconds, if you know a really good breathing method. But the first step is waking up. The second step is getting into a good emotional feeling. Now, one of the things I sometimes do is I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I love dogs a lot. So I just pet my dogs. I have 2 golden retrievers. I pet my dogs. I tell them how much I love them. And they're very enthusiastic, and that helps me get into a good state. But I also have this card of all the peak moments in my life and gratitude. And I talk about how to get that together. Another step 3 really is trying to get clear about one's goals. And, people have soured on goals a little bit in recent years because it sounds hard. But if you're guided into visualizing your goals in a certain way, it makes it a lot easier. I'm kind of lazy, so I always like to be guided to make it as easy as possible. And there's different ways to visualize goals. luckily there's been research on how to do that effectively now that shows what is really leads to the best results. Not everybody can visualize, so you have to come up with different ways of imagining that your goals are done and completed. That gives your brain a very clear message. And then the last part is how to stay motivated over a long period of time. And as you know, John, in the program, I came up with a couple of very unique ways of doing that. And as a professional speaker, you know, I speak at places like Google or Microsoft, and they're interested in how do you stay motivated? How do you motivate your crew? And I made most of my living by coming up with a very unique method of staying motivated. It takes about a minute per week, and it is freaking awesome in terms of how effective it is. And I'm very proud to let people know about that. But, you know, any method of motivation that you have, whether it be a buddy or collage or anything, is better than nothing. So those are the 4 different elements, really.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of my work over the decades was vision questing for myself, which is going out and fasting and praying in the wilderness by myself. And then I became a vision quest guide for a number of years, and took, I don't know, I'm sure hundreds of people out on these prayer fasts. And the idea was, if we don't know what we're here to do, we don't want to know what our vocation and our calling is, we're rudderless, and we just spin around and we don't get anywhere, and we get into a lot of trouble, and we get depressed, and we get cynical. But however, you know, for those of us who have found what our path and our vocations are, if we do not do that which we are called to do, and work on that and make progress toward that goal on a daily basis, it can cause just a lot of psychic suffering. And I've suffered with depression, you know, for a large part of at least my adult life. And I know when I'm not doing the things, like what was it said, you know what you have to do, but when you have to do what you know, and to do that on a daily basis and start out your day with just that grounding of, this is who I am, this is what I'm here to do, and give yourself that kick in the butt that gives you energy that lasts into the rest of the day. And you move from relaxation, from flow state into flow state into flow state when you're working on achieving your goals. And it's one of the most satisfying, deeply rewarding experiences we can have as a human being, that know we're actually doing what we were here to do. We're completing our mission. A lot of joy.
We need that food, you know. I'm a psychotherapist, but the way I got into this is I was a very deeply depressed, suicidal teenager.
Yeah.
And so that got me into what's out there for self-help. And, you know, a lot of self-help is just the same platitudes. What I always look for is, where do you get the most bang for your buck? You know, where can I do the least amount of effort and yet have my life transformed? That's my entire focus for the last 50 years, basically. And I am somewhat lazy, so I really look for methods that can do things quickly or do things easily. You know, I knew my laziness would work for me somehow in my life, and it has. So that's why these guided meditations, where you can listen to something for 10 minutes and have a direct experience that affects your entire day, are so important. You know, a lot of people know that they should meditate or they should do whatever, but only if you do something consistently does it consistently impact your life. So you have to come up with stuff that, you know, you're actually willing to do day in, day out, because it's so easy or it's so pleasurable that you're going to do it. You know, you don't have to have people tell you tell you to eat pizza, you know, or whatever your favorite food is. It's self-reinforcing. It's easy. You know, you can call up a place and they deliver. The same thing with anything that feels good. So I try to make personal transformation feel as good and as easy as possible, because that's basically what I want. And I think once people realize that the technology for transformation keeps getting better, they become more interested in it. It used to be, you'd have to, you'd tell people they'd have to meditate for an hour a day to experience anything. But now there's certain things in your product line or what I do that in just 3 or 4 minutes that can make a real difference for people. And especially when there's so much stress in the world and so much depression and anxiety, it's really important that you take care of yourself uh, so that you can deal with those things.
Yeah. And I have some notes here that Lee Spusta, and he's one of iAwake's, our creators. And what we do at iAwake, if you don't know our work, we create audio tracks you can listen to with sometimes even without headphones, earbuds, headphones, and they put your brain into desired meditative state. So instead of spending years going to an ashram, trying to learn the practices so you could take yourself down into alpha or theta or delta brainwave states within, and there's we just had a lot of new research has come out. It's really affirming what we're doing. It takes about 8 minutes to get there instead of 8 years, so it really helps. And so we've also learned that if we have these great teachers such as you, Jonathan, that are bringing us, these really transformational bits of practical wisdom, that if we empower that or set the groundwork with the entrainment or the brainwave enhancing technology, sound technology, it makes it even deeper, and it just hits it at a quicker level. And I would say it helps you to get there a lot quicker and makes it even more effective. And the brainwave state that the music that are the soundscape that Lee Spusta created is alpha. And that's been known for just deep, focused, right there-ness. In other words, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, as I am, and you're reading that magical opus, you're just there, you are in Middle Earth and you're with Frodo and the guys and Gandalf and the whole thing, you're just there. Well, that's alpha. Okay, that gets you right there. So to wake your brain up and to put you in that focused state and then do the practices that you recommend, it's just amazing. It's a home run. It works so well. And we can be grateful too, because this kind of technology was never available for our ancestors, or those who came before us. And they say that in the last 50 years, we've learned more about the human brain than we've learned in the past 5,000. So really in an evolutionary, revolutionary time where, all this seemingly negative stuff is going on if you're paying attention to the 24-hour news cycle. But at the same time, there's really amazing things going on too. And we have to focus on that and put ourselves in the zone so we can channel the best part of us that really does seem to come from a higher level. And what you created here is just that. I would imagine it would be great for professional athletes, musicians, performers, and teachers, and mothers and fathers. I can't think of anything it wouldn't be good for. So,
yeah, when I interviewed a lot of people, I kept hearing the same thing over and over again. How do you have a great life? Because that's been my interest. And one of the keys that always came up, and this was really surprising to me, because I was asking a lot of spiritual leaders how to deepen their connection spiritually. And the number one answer, to my surprise, was I thought it would be love or something like that. And the number one answer by far was gratitude. And I found that interesting, because I'd never really thought of gratitude as a spiritual growth technique. But, I got a chance to talk to Mother Teresa. I got a chance to talk to the Dalai Lama, talking to all these spiritual leaders, Wayne Dyer, Ram Dass, etc., and kept on coming up that gratitude was the key thing that they focused on more than anything else. So I wanted to make sure I put that in the morning ritual, which I do, but I'll give people a very simple gratitude technique. And one thing that you learn is that in what we're learning about the brain is that you find neural pathways, just like if you want to build up a muscle, you work that muscle. So most people don't experience much gratitude because if they do anything to focus on gratitude, it's like a once a week gratitude journal. But I wanted to experience gratitude every morning. So that's in the morning ritual program. But then I wanted to use it throughout the day so that I could really build up that gratitude muscle. So in the program, we do focus on gratitude. And then I give people a method, a 5-second method, which is my forte. 5-second method to experience gratitude throughout their day. And I thought I'd share this story because it's kind of a funny story. Many years ago, a friend of mine came back from India and he just looked transformed. And I asked him what happened. He said, I got a special mantra for feeling gratitude throughout my day, and it's really making a difference. And I could tell there was like a light shining from him. And I always want the best method. So of course I asked him, well, what's the mantra? And he said, I can't tell you. You have to go to India and get it directly from the guru. Well, that's like putting a steak in front of a dog. I needed this mantra. So I go to India. Have you been to India, John?
No, I certainly haven't.
Well, it's 18,000 miles away from where I am. And it's not an easy place to be. It's there's a lot going on, a lot of people. And so I go to India and I take a rickshaw for 3 hours to get to the ashram. I'm jet lagged and worn out. I'm a little bit upset that I have to go all the way to talk to this guru to get this gratitude method. I finally reach the guy. There's a 4-hour line to talk to him. I wait for 4 hours. By now I'm like, really a little bit pissed off, but I want the mantra. So I tell him, I came all the way. And he says in his Indian accent, yes, my mantra is the most powerful mantra on earth. And he leans in to whisper into my ear and he says, whenever possible, repeat these words. The mantra I give you are the words, thank you. And I look at him and I think, yeah, you're kidding me, you're joking with me. But he's totally serious. And I realize that that's actually the mantra. And I'm pretty upset. So I say, that's it? I traveled 18,000 miles to get thank you?
Thanks a lot.
That's it? And he looks at me, he says, no, that's it is the mantra you have been using. And that makes you feel like you never have enough. My mantra is thank you, not that's it. That's it will take you nowhere. So I'm a little bit pissed off. So I look at him like snidely. I go, well, thank you. And he looks at me and he says, thank you is not the mantra. You have to say it from your heart many times a day. So when you eat good food, say thank you. Or when you see your child or a sunset or your pet, say thank you. And soon you'll be filled with gratitude. Well, I was still upset, but I figured I would try this out. And it's interesting. We're talking for free from 50 countries in the world now about inner technology. Can you feel the amazement of that? Or can you feel the amazement that you can literally go into a refrigerator and get 20 different items? There's so much in modern day life that we take for granted. That we have these supercomputers. I have a supercomputer. I own a supercomputer in which I can talk to anyone in the world almost any time for almost no money with all this other stuff. But if you don't take the 5 seconds and feel your heart and say thank you to God or the universe or whatever, you miss that blessing. And it's little things like this that can make the difference between feeling anxiety and depression for all the crap that's going on in the world, or feeling grateful for all the blessings that we have. Once I had a near-death experience many years ago, a serious car crash. And I remember as I came conscious, I couldn't feel my legs, and the attendant in the hospital said, "Can you move your feet? Can you move your toes?" And I remember being able to move my toes and the feeling of elation. You know, think of every morning if you got up and you moved your toes and you felt elated. Yeah. So there's a lot to feel grateful for if we have a really simple, really powerful way to tap into these positive emotional states. And the more positive you feel, the good news is the better you treat other people. When you're depressed and upset, you do not treat people well. At least I don't. But when I feel great, it's like kindness exudes. So it's really our responsibility to find these ways into our own heart and our own feeling of positivity, so we can manifest that into the world, into the people we love.
Yeah, that's boy, that's something we don't talk a lot about in our modern and postmodern minds. Gratitude. If you go back to Book of Psalms in the Bible or the ancient Vedic literature, a lot of these things were just poems or songs of prayer. We don't know what the original music was, but it's all there. And in the Native American traditions that I'm familiar with, we sing songs of gratitude and prayer to the great mystery. And there's something about that that transforms the heart and opens it up. And you don't have to do it in a theological or a traditional, whatever tradition it might be, but it's really there in the ancient traditions and ancient technologies that people use to make them closer to divinity.
Yeah, and gratitude is like a key that unlocks a heart that leads to love. That's why a lot of people said they don't focus on love so much as they focus on gratitude. That's like a precursor, and it's a especially if you can take that 5 seconds as you're looking at a computer and thank the 10 million people that worked on getting the technology together, that we could feel we could do this call for free, that we're all connected. And I was in a Buddhist monastery once, and before you could eat, you had to thank every person involved in the meal. And it took like 15 minutes because the cook and then the driver and then the person who planted the apple tree and the person who at the factory, it was quite an ordeal. But we are connected, and we do have these blessings. And the question, your mission, should you decide to accept it, is to find the way to your own heart and best self that is so easy and so convenient that it works in your life.
And this takes 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Yeah, that's why I figure I got to get to 10 minutes because, if I made it half an hour, I knew I wouldn't do it every morning. Yeah. So that's why it's 10 minutes long.
And I have found with practices, when you adopt a new practice, at first it's kind of different and scary, and the breathing technique is like, wow, it's pretty powerful and pretty radical. But the more you do it, the easier it gets and the more enjoyable it gets. And I'm a passionate guitar player, passionate tennis player, and I just knew it was something I wanted to do. But the more I practice and the more I work on those two crafts, the more sublime it gets. You just create grooves in your brain, and it just becomes habitual, and not something you have to say. I mean, you just get up and you do it. You get your day going. Yeah, and it works that way. Practice.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know there's a time that we're going to have questions. We could start with that, and I'll throw in a couple stories throughout that as well. So if there are questions.
Okay, so we're gonna open now to our Q&A part of the webinar. But so there's a Q&A box at the bottom of your screens or the Zoom software. So please put in your questions there if you still have any questions. We'll get to that later. But before we do that, while you're typing in your questions, we just wanted to share with you because John and Jonathan during the last half hour have been talking about this program. Um, so this is the program. This is the latest from Jonathan Robinson and from iAwake Technologies. Jonathan did the guided meditation in iAwake Technologies, which was created by Lee Spusta, the sound entrainment and the sounds that we're using for this technology called Morning Ritual. Wake in your best. So I'm gonna put the link in the chat box, and it's now available on the website, so you can check it out. And there is like a free sample there that you can look at. So we have, I mean, you can listen to. So we have a few questions, and I think the most popular question, Jonathan, is about the breathing exercise. Could you please tell us about the breathing exercise you mentioned to wake up your body?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, first of all, in the morning ritual, I do offer a couple ideas. One idea is that you find what works for you. So no matter what I say, no matter what a teacher says, you're the ultimate authority. And but what I've found, because I get to work with a lot of people, is that certain breathing exercises work much more effectively than others. And you might try those first. Uh, so the breath that I do is from the Kundalini yoga tradition, and I'll demonstrate it. But know that you start off a little slow, and I'll start off a little slow, and then show how over maybe even just a week's practice, you can get really good at this. And once you get good at it, you can use it in the afternoon when you're a little sleepy. You know, I'll do 1 minute of this, and it's like a cup of coffee, but much more immediate. So it basically involves breathing through your nose quickly and shallowly. So it looks like this. Then I might hold my breath for 10 seconds, breathe out, send a feeling of love to somebody I love. Now that was only 10 seconds, but with doing this for a minute, I talk about how to pace yourself so you can do it for a full minute. It's another tool in your tool belt, but some people do it through their mouth. Some people find that uh, longer, deep breaths work for them. But in general, quick, shallow breaths is a great way to wake up your body. And then holding your breath for 10 or 15 seconds, exhaling. Really, it's like a cold shower without all the pain of a cold shower.
Yeah, and Jonathan, you guide us through this in the morning ritual very clearly, and
Yeah.
makes it doable.
And it's nice to have, you know, not just the guidance, but the timer. So you know that there's only 15 seconds left. You know, we need all the help we can get, and these little guidance things can really make a difference.
Thank you. So we have two questions. I'm just going to combine them from Claire and from Evelyn. Is it okay to use this product and this ritual happen in the evening? Claire, I do more or less the same kind of ritual before going to sleep, and have other rituals in the morning. Is it
Great
strong or
question.
less efficient?
Yeah, great question. I have used it that way. I'm My only hesitancy would be if the breathing exercise wakes you up too much, you might not want to use it right before you go to sleep. Uh, but you could, instead of doing the wake up breathing method, you could do a slower breathing method. But the idea of focusing on positive emotions and goals right before you go to sleep or anytime is a great idea. We called it morning ritual. We called it morning ritual mostly because by having a set time each day to do it, whether it be the morning or before you go to bed, it's more likely that you'll do it. And it's a great way to start the day. But a lot of people, in order to have a good night's sleep, like to do something similar. And so you can use it anytime during the day.
Okay. Thank you. The other question is from Evelyn. What about using the theta state, I guess a theta brainwave entrainment before falling asleep or after waking up for guided meditation before waking up the body?
You might have more to say about that than I do, John.
No, I think that's a great idea. And we have deeply theta. We have a lot of products now that bring the brain into theta. And just you're the ultimate authority. So I would say experiment with it, listen to it, and see how it works for you. But I don't see any reason that wouldn't be something that would be very successful for you.
Thank you. We have a question from Petra. What position should we be in when practicing the breathing exercise? Is lying down okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I sometimes do it lying down, and I sometimes do it sitting up. You might find that you have a preference. I have a slight preference of sitting up, but one of the things I like about that breathing exercise is it's fine to do it either way. You just don't want to do it on a full stomach. I learned that one by making that mistake once. so don't do that, but it is fine
point
to do it lying down or sitting up.
Thank you. Let's see. From Suki, what breathing method do you use from Kundalini? What is it called?
Well, that method, and Jay in the chat I saw, it's called the breath of fire, and its effect is very quick. That's what I like about it. I really specialize in methods that take under a minute of effort that you can feel right away. And this method definitely fit into that category. And you get better at it really quickly. Maybe the first time you do it, you have a hard time doing it, but it's amazing. Even just a week of doing the morning ritual, you'll find that your ability to take in a lot of oxygen quickly improves dramatically. And that's a nice perk.
Yeah, I've also heard it called dragon's breath. It comes from more of a kung fu martial arts tradition. So, yeah.
Thank you. From Umut, could you elaborate more about your emotion card? It's a very interesting idea to re-experience the emotions and to gain awareness about them.
Yeah, it's actually kind of fun to create this. This is my emotion card, and you see it has a bunch of words on it. You don't need, and I talk about how to create this in the instruction part of the morning ritual. Like as you think in terms of your life, what were the peak moments in my life as a teenager? Maybe your first kiss or first time you went to a concert or something like that. And you don't need to describe it in a lot of words. You can just say first kiss, first concert. And soon you do that for every decade of your life in different categories, in terms of relationships or career or fun. And soon you have a list of like 50 moments of your life that were really amazing. And people underestimate how easy it is with the right instruction to go back and re-experience some of these things, and that's a great ability to have. It takes a lot of effort to create another peak experience, but you can create a little mini peak experience in the privacy of your own bedroom just by remembering one from the past. And I think that ability not only helps your day start better, but you're building pathways to peak experiences, to positive experiences as like a muscle in your brain. So it makes it easier to go into positive feelings throughout your life.
And it just brought to mind I worked on this project and doing what you said to do, Jonathan, and just making the list, not just the ritual set aside, just making this list is a really powerful experience.
Yeah.
And you can use, I think I was using Digital Euphoria, one of our iAwake tracks, listening to it, and had my pen and paper and started reviewing my life and all of the amazing things that, I've been granted to experience in my lifetime. Was It's very moving, very powerful practice just to make this list.
And along with that list is things that you're grateful for. So, you can you use this during the morning ritual program, but you have a bad day, you could just, scan this list and think, well, it's been a pretty good life, actually.
Right. Okay. So we have a question. Is the product you're promoting available here for download? Yeah. So Morning Ritual is available for digital downloads. We also have it available on the iAwake Technologies app, both in iOS and Google Play. And you can also buy a CD of Morning Ritual. We also have a question from Levon. Does the morning ritual meditation require earphones, or can it be done without? Thank you for sharing your experience and great information.
Yeah, let me answer that. Yeah, I think it would be enhanced because you'll get the full effect of the brainwave enhancement and amplification technology if you use the headphones. I think it would work also without it. But if you want to get the biggest bang for your buck, use headphones or earbuds also.
Right.
And just to chime in, I sometimes forget my headphones next to my bed, and I listen to it without it, and it still works. Maybe not as full impact, but it's a lot better than nothing for sure when you
Absolutely.
just listen to it. Also something I want to say, I appreciate that you kept the price low for this one, so that, more people have access to it. And I know there's a special going on, but although I make less money when the price is low, I'm really glad that you did make it low, because I really think that this program is going to affect a lot of people just because it's so easy and so powerful and quick. We're all time crunched nowadays, and the fact that you can pack so much power that affects your day in 10 minutes, I think is really going to positively impact people in a profound way.
Thank you. We have a question from Claire. Will this webinar be on replay somewhere? Because I know people would be very interested to see it. Yes, Claire, the replay is going to be available tomorrow, and we'll send another notification. So in case some of you have attended the webinar late, midway through it, we're going to send out an email to everybody with the link on where to watch the replay. We have a question from Thomas. Is there a special technique you find useful when you want to write creatively, say get into a flow?
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of the iAwake technologies can do that, because theta brainwave states are very associated with creativity. And perhaps John will mention that, but something I've done, I've written 14 books, is I promise myself a write for 5 minutes minimum 3 times a week. And if you have enough at bats, enough tries, every now and then you get into a creative state. And so I think giving myself a lot of tries to get into that creative state, and allowing it to not work, like, oh, those 5 minutes, I don't feel creative, I'll give up. But when I've done that, I found that once or twice a week, I do enter that creative state, and then I keep writing, and that's worked for me. But I also have listened to iAwake stuff right before I do some writing, and have found that to be useful as well.
Yeah, we have a suite of tracks called Stealing Flow, and they're really good you can just put them on at whatever level's comfortable, the audio, and you just get into it. And of course, I'm a writer also. I write articles and stuff every day. And since I've been using this technology, and it's certainly not the way it was before, I have not experienced any serious writer's block. It just, as soon as I put pencil to paper, or it just starts coming out. It's also very good for receiving knowledge, for a study, and for reading. And I like to actually have, when it's something important, I'll get the actual book and I mark it all up and take notes. But it really gets me puts me in a much more receptive intellectual framework, which in turn influences how I'm able to give out and to create and to write.
Thank you. We have a question from Suki. This is for you, John. Does any alpha wave music can wake our brain up. Is there a level of frequency number? I guess what's the
Oh,
limit to the alpha brainwave? Does it wake our brain up, the alpha wave, alpha brainwaves, and what is the frequency, or is there a level of frequency that we should be?
what is it, Louis? The alpha wave. Is it? Let's see. It's probably
Uh,
around 6 or 7 hertz.
yeah, it's in the higher.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me just get that information.
Yeah, and it's more alpha is more for just focusing, okay? And that is part of waking up. Gamma is also a very good brainwave to really spark and
Right.
energize. So an alpha is more of a kind of just a really deeply focused, spot on type of brainwave experience.
Right. So alpha waves are the frequency is between 8 to 13 hertz, and then the gamma, the one that John just said, is 26 to 99 hertz.
Yeah, it's pretty
All
rapid.
right.
Let me just say one more thing. The interesting thing about this technology, I think Democritus was the ancient Greek philosopher, said you can't step in the same river twice. So as you use these technologies and these tracks and the ritual, your experience of it will change. In other words, it won't get stale. So if you come back and use a track you haven't used for a while and use it again, it's like a completely new experience. You hear different things, and I'm not sure if the track has changed or our brain has changed. I'm pretty sure it's our brain that's evolving. So these things will continue to influence you, and you experience at ever deeper levels as you work with it.
Thank you. Another question for you, John. What track, or maybe you too, Jonathan, can answer this, but what tracks do you recommend, or would you recommend for healing?
Wow, gosh, there's so many of them. One of our key suites of tracks is called Profound Meditation 3.0. And it has like 17 different tracks in it, and they're all 20-minute tracks, and you have different tiers, and that can keep you going for years. And it certainly has been used for healing in emotional healing and PTSD and depression. And also, again, we've just gotten a lot of new research in that's saying that this technology helps with the perception of pain. And they found that people that use the stuff who are suffering physical pain have to use less medication to control the pain to be able to deal with it. So there is a real help in dealing with physical pain, and it's certainly good not only for helping one cope with emotional pain, but being able to confront it and transform it and release it so that's no longer there causing the pain it did. And I had some really traumatic events, and so instead of kind of going back and re-experiencing this thing with all its painful, shocking, just presence, it was more like looking at a black and white photo of it later. Like it's still there, I can still remember it, but it doesn't have that impact, and it doesn't seem to have the power to drag me down and to cause me suffering as it did. So yeah, so try PMP 3.0, but it's not the only one. Download the free app that we have, the iAwake Technologies app, and it has all the different tracks we have, and then it'll tell you exactly what each one does, what brainwave states it entrains to, what its purpose is, and what we've learned about it thus far. And of course, the more we use this, and I'm talking about you too, the more we're finding out, and your experience and how you evolve with this stuff and use it is also part of the journey that we're on, and the information we're gathering about this technology.
One thing I'll add is that a lot of research shows that healing happens through being focused on certain goals. You know, that obviously there's a thing called a placebo effect where people get better because they think that they're taking a pill that will help. And just having a goal of healing, which we do have a focus of goals in the morning ritual, I think is very, very impactful as well.
Thank you. We have a question from Lisa. Does this meditation guide you through all 4 steps?
Yes, it does. And so there's the first track describes each of the steps in detail so that you're ready for it. Track 2 is the actual guided meditation with the special iAwake music. Track 3 is the guided meditation with nature sound. So you get a choice as to which of 2 guided meditations background sounds you want. And I suggest you try both of them, see which ones you like the most. And then track 4 deals with this motivation method that I helped to create that will help you to stay super motivated long-term towards your most important goals. So you get a lot of stuff in the program. And I think if you use it for a year, it's costing you about 10 cents a day. So it's a pretty inexpensive way to potentially have major impact on your life.
Thank you. Right. So we're gonna take in the last 2 questions, but before that, I just want to remind everybody that Morning Ritual Waking Your Best by Jonathan Robinson and iAwake Technologies is now available on sale. So we're doing a 20% off introductory launch sale from today until July 28th. And it's a 10-minute program with the soundtracks and the brainwave entrainment created by Lee Spusta. So for some of you who has tried some iAwake tracks before, Lee was the one who developed Deep Delta, Deeply Theta, Solar Infusion. And Jonathan Robinson as well has created some guided meditations before for iAwake Technologies, like Shortcuts to Awakening and the Near Death Experience. So I just put the link of Morning Ritual Waking Your Best in the chat box. It's iawaketechnologies.com/products/morning-ritual. So on to the last 2 questions, Jonathan, from Suki. Give me an example or give us example on how to stay motivated once a week.
Uh-huh. The technique that I created actually takes about 15 minutes to go into a fair amount of detail. It's a very precise technique, but here are the qualities of it. You create a clear contract with yourself as to what you'll be doing. And then a way to make sure that you do that contract. It uses a very small motivator that seems to motivate people really well. I'm not going to say what that is because you need to get the full description. But what I tried to do was come up with a motivational method that you'd say something like, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times this week and work out for at least half an hour. So the first part is clarity. And then the second part is how to make sure that you do that. And that's where the longer description in the morning ritual program will serve you to make sure that you do what you say you do. And it's really powerful when you know that you can do a technique and it's pretty much 100% effective. And it can be done in literally a minute per week. That alone can change your life. And it's important that you listen to that entire track because the specificity of what keeps you motivated takes a while to describe.
Thank you. And here's the last question, which is just to sum up the whole webinar. Can you tell us again what we need to do for 10 minutes? Many thanks.
Yeah, real quickly, in the morning ritual program, what I did was take the best ideas from all these super achievers, and they usually had 4 elements. One was some way to quickly wake up the body. And in the morning ritual, there's certain breathing techniques for doing that. Second, that there was some way to focus on peak moments of one's life and re-experience them. And that includes re-experiencing moments of gratitude and feeling really grateful for life, gaining a peak emotional state, which can include your sense of loving others. That's another part of it, that you feel your connection to other people in a deep way. The next part is focusing on goals that you'd like to achieve either long-term or short-term, maybe that day, in a way that gives your brain a very clear direction and sense of moving towards that. And the last part is how to stay motivated towards those goals, which is described in a separate track. And those are really the 4 steps that I think make up a really superb way of starting your day.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, John. Jonathan, any final words, parting words?
Yeah, Louis, thank you for moderating this. And Louis just had his 8-year anniversary of being with iAwake, and we're a strange little company. I think we all really love each other, and we've been hanging in there together and creating these tools that really help people. And I think that the love that we have for one another and our working together is reflected in the products and the things we put out in the world. So anyway, it's been a great seminar. Thank you so much, Jonathan. And thanks everyone for your great participation. It's just made this a terrific event. Thank you.